So, hi everybody. So it's time to build women restrooms in tech, and I think that's an emergency. So today we try to tackle the big issue of diversity in tech. We have 25-30 minutes to do so, so of course that will be a very quick look around. And the main reason I'm here today, it's because I'm tired. And not only because I had to finish my slides at 2 in the morning, but I'm tired of doing all the job while you guys are not doing, well, so much. And I'm tired because the open source diversity folks and the tech diversity folks are taking on much of the issue. And I want to provide you with resources to see how you can be a good ally. So giving you resources to help, that's the point of the talk. I think we can shorten the way, but that is a hell of a long road. And the job has to be done. And if you do the job, that's cool, we don't have to do it. If you don't do it, well, we have to do it, and we are already doing, well, our jobs and living our lives. So, Diversity 101, what is diversity? It's having different people on board. In the tech industry, it means more women, more people of color, more people with disabilities, more LGBTQ plus people. And, well, the most important is that you have people who don't fit your culture. So no cultural fit. This is, for me, the most important definition of diversity. People who don't fit your culture have a different way of seeing the world. They have a different way of solving issues. They don't miss the things that you might miss. And, well, that is why it's very important to have a diverse field. And maybe sometimes they make you uncomfortable, and actually that is good. That means that they challenge you. So, as you can see, I'm only a white woman, so I don't want to talk, well, for people of colors or for people with disabilities or LGBTQ plus people. I will mainly talk about my experience as a woman in tech, but I will provide you with resources, and you can, well, you have plenty of resources on the internet to educate yourself about people of color specific issues and these kind of topics. So what I'm seeing, what I'm witnessing today, I've been involved in the diversity struggle for a while, and I'm seeing a wide diversity fatigue. People are told about it all the time. I'm sure you have heard about diversity 1,000 times. Even Uber is releasing diversity reports, and I mean, they have a great track record in terms of being digheads at management. So if even Uber is paying attention to diversity, I'm sure most of you are already convinced that it is useful and necessary. But the issue, according to the Atlassian report, is this one. So let me read along. People are tired of talking about diversity and inclusion. They're frustrated by talk not turning into impactful action and overwhelmed by the number of issues. While respondents continue to say that diversity and inclusion are important, action declined across the board. So the Atlassian reports, that's very useful, actually. It follows the state of diversity in tech every year. And, well, I have bad news. This year is not a very good year. The numbers, they are better. We have more women, more people of color, etc. But the efforts are diminishing. And, well, you get my point. We made efforts. We didn't see the results, so we stopped making efforts. So now diversity is better, but for tomorrow, I'm not sure. So what can we do to solve the issues? What can you do? Well, it's difficult because whose fault is it? Like, diversity is not anyone's specific fault, it's a system. So no one actually prevents women from doing techie stuff. No one actually prevents people of color from applying to jobs in the Silicon Valley. But, well, if you look a bit closer, yes, that's better. If you look a bit closer, women get more interrupted when they give talks. In the open source world, because I come from the open source world, well, if you're a woman and you submit a pull request, it is more likely to be accepted. But if you are identifiable as a woman, it is less likely to be accepted. So there is, of course, a very big bias. And you can see also that Black people select out themselves from Silicon Valley. We have, I think, in the USA, 9% of Black people graduating in computer science every year, and they go to work to Chicago. And they say that. They say, why would I go to Silicon Valley? I mean, I don't know anyone there, and nobody looks like me. So that's also a big issue. So 3 steps to tackle the diversity issue. I know some of you already had a very great talk about diversity yesterday. Today is more about getting started and the very basics know-how. So first, we have to tackle culture. Second, timing, and third, persistence. So culture. Do you know what that is? So this is a vine. This is the tree that produces grapes, which is used to produce wine. So as a French people, I find that very important. And you can see that this is a vine leaf, and this is sick. This is sick with something called the phylloxera. Phylloxera is a disease that affected pretty much all the vines in Europe in the 19th century. And the issue was that everybody had picked the same vine, well, the most productive one, and the most fitable one, and the more robust. And when one disease came that attacked this specific kind of vine, well, everything died. So we know by experience that monoculture is not that good. And actually, the way they resolved the vine issue was by mixing different types of wine. So I don't know the analogy, I think it's clear. And it takes me to cultural fit, which is our worst enemy when it comes to tackle diversity. So you work in a project, you work at a tech company, you have a culture. And I mean, that's good. We need a culture to interact with each other. We are used to interacting in certain ways. Well, that's great, that's normal. But sometimes if you want to hire people different than you or to make them contribute, it can be difficult. Like, so usually I count the women in the audience when I'm here. I would say maybe 10% today, maybe a bit less. Okay, so I'm talking to mostly guys. You were raised in a different way that I was raised. So maybe you were raised feeling that you must be assertive, or you must have a very direct communication. And okay, that's efficient. And you were used to work with guys in the tech industry, and you kept acting that way. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to have a way more diplomatic style of communication. And when I started working at tech companies, I found people were very logical and mean, and sometimes it made me uncomfortable. And it's not that you should be nicer to me because I'm a woman. That's not the point. That's just that I have different experiences. I have a different background. And you can keep working the way you work today, but at some point I'm going to leave the company. And so, well, it kills diversity. So this is the myth of cultural fit. Yes, it's easier to work with people who work the same way as you do, but at some point you are missing the same issues and solving problems the same way. So, very interesting video.
Algorithmic bias can also lead to exclusionary experiences and discriminatory practices. Let me show you what I mean.
Hi, camera. I've got a face. Can you see my face? No glasses face? You can see her face. What about my face? Well, I've got a mask. Can you see my mask?
So how did this happen?
Yes, how did this happen? So she's Joy Burlamy. She's an MIT student, and she wanted to start a project involving face recognition. And it was an easy project. It was like a student project. And, well, no face recognition for her because she's a black woman. And this is algorithmic bias. So usually at this point of the talk, I see people a bit disturbed and thinking, okay, but what can I do? I mean, I'm just like, the regular tech guy, and who am I to do something? So you are part of the solution. So what can I do? Maybe you work in a tech company, or maybe you run a tech company, or maybe you are an open source contributor, or you organize events. So in every type of tech guy, you can find a lot to do and a lot not to do. That's important too. So what if you are my male coworker or my male boss? You were very happy to hire me because you saw that you had like only white male in your developer team. And okay, so that's cool, you hired me. Please hire another woman, please. Because at some point, somebody, and that's a true story, somebody is going to be a dick to me, and I'm going to wonder, well, is he doing that because I'm a woman, or is he just having a bad day? And all the coworkers will say, no, he's having a bad day, don't worry, he has nothing against women, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's cool to hear that from guys. I want to hear that from a woman used to work with the guy. So one, never enough. Second, ask for my opinions, because I'm pretty sure I have a different view of the world than you do. And if we're in a meeting and I'm the only one to disagree with something that everybody agrees on, well, it must be a bit difficult to stand up and say, okay, you are all wrong, I'm the only woman, and I'm right. So please ask. This is very, well, welcomed. Send me on events, on tech events, because it's also important to make me feel like it's normal that I represent the company or that I represent the project. And also it's good for women in the audience to see another woman talking. And educate yourself. Like, I can give talks, I can do a lot, I can write blog posts, but at some point you have tons of resources on the internet, use them and educate your fellow coworkers. Well, if you hear them doing a sexist joke, maybe I'm not here, I'm not in the room, please call them out. It's important. It has to be the new culture of your organization. What should you not do? Please do not make jokes, because they are very likely to be lame about the fact that I'm a woman. Yeah, you can make jokes, of course. But if you are like, yeah, you know, if I was sexist, I would tell you that. No, that's just embarrassing for everybody. And don't pretend that you don't see colors or that you don't see gender. This is important also, because the more objective you think you are, the less objective you actually are. Again, there are a ton of studies about that. So get educated on these topics and try to accept the idea that you are biased and that we are all biased. Maybe you contribute to open source. You're not working in a tech company or you're not running it, but you are starting a project or you are contributing to a project on a regular basis. So this is actually my very field of interest. I mean, I'm interested in diversity in tech, but in open source, it must be sometimes a bit different. So, easy do's and don'ts. Write good documentation describing your project, the way you work. It's very useful when you start contributing on a project to know who you should ask for what, and it can motivate you to go a bit further. Again, label starter issues in the same perspective. Easier to start when you know where to start from, and be well-minded. Because when you are from an underrepresented group in tech, know that we have an inner voice constantly telling us, well, you shouldn't be here. So if you start shooting at me, you just make the inner voice a bit louder, and that's not very nice for me. Offer mentoring also. Sometimes you may think that it's easy for people to just ask for help. It's way easier when you know who to ask for. And there was the GitHub survey published recently, and they were telling that, for instance, women are way more likely to ask for help from someone they know in the project than just on a forum to random strangers. So get to know your people. And the don'ts, well, we are mostly communicating by GitHub or IRC, so don't use irony and don't be vague. Don't just reject my pull request saying, yeah, I don't see it like that. No, I mean, be explicit. And maybe you're organizing events like this one. So actually, this is why I'm giving a talk today. It's because we had a discussion with Jan. He was asking me advice about how he could make the event more inclusive. So I gave him some advice, some do's and don'ts. The first is that that's a very good thing to actively reach out to new speakers or speakers you have worked before, you have worked with before. Maybe they won't think about offer a talk. If you want to make your panel of speakers a bit wider, a bit more diverse, it's very appreciated that you reach out directly. Offer diversity tickets. There is a great website for that, which is called diversitytickets.org. It's a free ticket for underrepresented groups in tech, whether it's LGBTQ plus people, or women, or people of color, or people with disabilities. It helps you also reach to new audiences, so that's good for you. and provide a code of conduct. If you don't have ideas on how to write a code of conduct, again, tons of resources on the internet, you will find something. A code of conduct is mainly a message. I know it's not magical, and it won't help people, it won't prevent people from harassing or this kind of stuff, but for us, it sends a message that this should be a safe event. And one last point, I witnessed a lot of times that if a woman is giving a talk, she will usually offer to give a beginner's talk. But if she is capable to offer a beginner talk, she is most likely to be capable to offer an expert talk. But, well, maybe she won't feel legitimate and she doesn't feel like she's an expert. So encourage people from underrepresented groups to give expert talk. That's important. And don't assume it will magically happen. That's never the case. And if you are just saying, okay, I think that I'm nice, people in my conference are nice, so they will apply. No, that doesn't work that way. The second thing important to keep in mind is timing, because you are fighting against something called the pipeline, the deadly pipeline. So you want to hire someone. You have 100% white male developers in your team, and well, ideally you would like to hire a woman of color, let's say. Do you have a proper job offer, or do you ask for referral? If you ask for referral, you will end up hiring a white guy, because, well, I know mostly white people. I can't give like an idea of someone of color I would like my boss to hire, just out of. So if you want people to apply, write a proper job offer and don't try network. Okay, are you explicitly taking the 2 minutes it takes to add a line encouraging people from underrepresented groups in tech to apply? Well, it takes 2 minutes, and I can assure you that it has a great impact. So take those 2 minutes, write this line. Are you asking for X programming languages and Z frameworks and Y skills? Know that a man will apply if he has like 60% of the requirements, and a woman will apply if she has 90%. So maybe the perfect developer you're looking for is a woman, and if you give like too much requirements, she won't apply at all, and you won't have a chance to meet her. And finally, are you allowing specific resources to improve diversity hiring? If you don't, well, if you do, well, don't worry, you will still have applications from white male guy, no problem. They will apply all the same. So since they will apply, if you want to interview a diverse panel of potential recruiters, you should put specific resources in this and go look for them. Well, congrats. At least you are doing it right. Third is persistence. And well, I know sometimes it can be a bit discouraging because you are making efforts. That's what we see in the Atlassian report. People want to make efforts and they want to improve diversity, and they don't see results. So persistence is key. First, if you really, really want to improve the state of diversity in your project or your company, you must prioritize. So I was organizing the Next Slot conference last year, and we wanted to have one female keynote speaker and one male keynote speaker. And the conference was in August, and we started looking for it in April. And in April, it was like, yeah, that would be really nice. And in May, it was like, yeah, it would be really nice. And in June, it was, yeah, it would be really nice to have a keynote speaker. And in July, we were desperate to have a keynote speaker. So, well, we took the first people who asked for it, and those were 2 white guys. So that was a bummer. And at the same time, well, we didn't prioritize enough, so how bad. Second thing is to discourage toxic behavior. I'm pretty sure all of you know a company or a project where there is the genius developer, and he's a dickhead, and nobody really wants to work for him or with him, and it's very difficult to get along with him, but he's contributing to like 50% of the code, and it's very difficult to tell him, okay, you should stop making racist jokes, and yeah, but you know, they're so funny. Just cut off the guy. I mean, at some point he's going to leave. You will have 50% of your code base which will not be covered anymore, and you will have lost all opportunity to have nice people to work with and diverse people to work with. So cut the genius developer. You are, and again, studies show that you are way likely to overestimate his contribution to the code base. Call them out also. Always call people out, because we are tired to call people out. When someone is doing a sexist joke and I'm like, for the 1,000th times of the day, yeah, dude, that's not funny, it doesn't have impact. He's like, oh yeah, but she's a woman, she's not funny. Okay, so if you are the guy, the friend, the other contributor, and you tell him, dude, that is not funny for me at all, now it has an impact. Think long term. I know this is the most discouraging part, but the results won't show, and the results won't show, especially if you are a small project or a small team. Because I'm talking right now, and maybe a woman in the audience is thinking, okay, maybe I should give a talk next year, and maybe next year she cannot, and maybe the year after that she will give a talk here, and that will be awesome. But results are very slow to show. This is not a reason to stop. So, who are you gonna be? Try to keep in mind that we are all characters in other people's life. So if you act, that's cool, and that has an impact. If you don't act, well, that's not cool, and that also has an impact. You can't be just like a diversity believer. You have to be a practitioner, or we are ending up with me giving a talk to tell you what you should do, and you should be just telling each other what you should do. So you can reach out to me if you need advice, if you want to start an open source project and have diverse contributions. I've been doing open source for 3 years now. I'm starting to do cybersecurity in September. I'm easy to reach on Twitter and La Palisse, and by mail, hello@lapalisse.fr. I'm part of a very nice project called Open Source Diversity that we launched after the next Slot conference next year, after failing to find a female keynote speaker in Berlin, which is a shame. Open Source Diversity is an initiative aimed at giving you very tangible resources. I talked to you big principles. I talked to you about like what you should not do. Open Source Diversity is giving you websites. Like, okay, you want a code of conduct? We have a contributor covenant. It gives code of conducts pre-written that you can have inspiration with. You want to find a female keynote speaker? That's awesome. We have Speakerinnen. Speakerinnen is a German initiative that lists women and their field of skills. And well, you can ask them if they want to speak at your conference. So you should have a look at the website if you are interested in the topic, and plenty of nice articles to educate yourself. That's really a great initiative. So I hope you all feel a bit uncomfortable at this point, and you're all thinking, well, okay, so maybe she's right, maybe she's wrong, maybe I should do something, maybe I should read some blogs, maybe I should I should watch some conferences. This is the point of the talk, to make you a bit uncomfortable and to help you make the first step. That's, of course, the most difficult one. Adapt culture, last anecdotes. When Harvard started to say, okay, so we want to have women on board. So until I think the beginning of the 20th century, Harvard was only for men, or maybe the 19th century, but I think 20. And they said, okay, so this year we will have 1 woman for 3 guys. Perfect. That's a good start. And so, wow, super cool. Women are coming to the Harvard campus. And at some point, they go to see the direction and say, okay, just something. We have no restrooms. And I mean, I pee, like all of you, and I need restrooms. So the director was a bit, disturbed and was like, yeah, that's an issue. Okay, so you know what? In the janitor's room, there is this little bathroom that we can turn into a woman's bathroom. And we're like, okay, thank you very much. That's really cool from you. So diversity, that's being invited to the party. Maybe you can reach a wider audience, and maybe you can make your company more diverse. But inclusion is being asked to dance, and that's really different. So being asked to dance is what makes us want to stay, and to stay in your company and in your project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nina, for your talk, and especially thank you for your help before the conference. Any question? Okay, thank you.
One question.
Great.
Thank you. Great talk. I want to know the open source diversity project. How is it looking for help? Is it can we offer any sort of help?
Yes, actually we have a GitLab, so you can register to the project and contribute. All the information are on the website, but I should have put the GitLab address also. If you know initiatives, I was preparing this talk and I discovered a great website that lists all Black women speakers in the US. So very useful for conferences. Like if you want experts on a topic, just go there. And so I should open a pull request. Hopefully it will be accepted because they know me. But if you want to add initiatives or you know someone making something cool, we have a Twitter also if you want to see events or things in your city or in your country. So yeah, contribute, of course. It's welcome. Any more questions?
Okay, thank you.
I see pale faces. Everybody's like, okay, you can upload now. That's